What if you could completely transform your life in 3 days? It's possible. I want to show you how. If that interests you, why don't you stick around and watch this live stream? And as you can see, that is my Maui retreat that is coming up in May, at the end of May 2025. It's a 3-day transformational event happening in Maui, which is in Hawaii. Who's been there? It's one of the most potent places in the world energetically. I've experienced this firsthand. It's a portal where things get activated. We all need tools in life to help us along the way. And what's so powerful about going to a place like Maui, it's a great tool to help you activate. It's nature itself synchronizing and aligning with you to make things easier. Who doesn't like making things easier? And Maui is one of those places that will accelerate your awakening. And in 3 days, what you can do is you can speed up what would take years and even beyond, and you can do it in a 3-day period because there is an acceleration. There is this quantum phenomena that occurs. And I had this experience even post-Maui in January, where everything happened in a short space of time. I was told by the divine it was a quantum leap. And you can experience that as well. And that's why I'm specifically doing these events in Maui, because I know the potency. I know the energy in which the island offers to help you accelerate your awakening. And many are going through that awakening period right now, because there is a great separation that is happening on the planet. People are starting to align more and more with what they are choosing. For most people, they are completely unconscious to it. They have no idea what's really going on, but the soul knows. When we incarnate, the veil comes down and we forget, but the soul remembers. And that is why there is this inner resonance. You're resonating with the choice that your soul has made during this time. Now, not everybody has chosen to awaken. That is okay. We're not meant to try to wake people up. We're meant to activate the natural decision process that is occurring within their soul. Does that make sense? And if it doesn't, you can let me know in the chat and I will help you better understand that. Analogies are important. I try to use analogies, although they can be confusing, and I'm here to break down the analogies as well. I got a new teaching for this live stream, and I'm really excited to share it because it's a little bit of a pivot from the last week's set of teachings. And it is more on the teachings of how to live. And it's titled Living by Faith, believing when you can't see, and it doesn't look like things are going to work out the way you hoped. So living by faith, but also living by love. And although they sound different, they're both intimately connected to each other. And I'm going to be getting into it, and I'm going to be referring to my notes because I've been told, Paul, you got to stick on target. You got to go through these things one by one. So bear with me as we do that. And I'm going to pop that up on the screen again. Maui in May 2023 to 26. Mark that in your calendar. And I want to let you know as well that we have a special early bird until the 1st of April. So if that resonates with you and you want to do what I spoke about, you want to activate in a short period of time, you can do that in Maui. Let me share with you this. Love and faith are the most powerful forces in divine alignment. They are not separate but work together to transform lives. Love is the foundation of all spiritual truth. It's not an emotion. Often we think it's an emotion. We got to feel it. We got to feel the love, right? Feel the love. But you don't have to feel the love. You have to align to love. Often we don't feel like loving the unlovable, do we? Often we're being called to love those who aren't very lovable. They kind of annoy us, right? They annoy us. Who knows those people in their life? They're sticky. They irritate the mind. And the love that I talk about is a divine love. It's a love that you don't feel emotionally. It's a love that works through you. And you don't always feel like it. But to walk in it, you don't have to. It is like faith. Let me go to the subject of faith now. Faith is calling you to believe when you can't see. And that goes against everything the world teaches us. Hello, Janice. Great to see you in the live stream. I'm so glad you caught this. And we were talking about this on our Zoom today, is walking in faith, having faith in the unseen. And it can be often when you're being refined with faith, you go through seasons. That's Janice texting me as I'm on the live. Forgot to turn my sound off. That's okay. We're going through a season and we're being refined and tested. Those are the times that really matter. Because often what you will see, Janice says, I have faith and this will be truly transformative. And to walk in faith, Janice and everybody else, we have to see beyond what the natural eyes see. We have to move to a place of what I call inner knowing, where we know that we know that we know that we're on the right path. Often it's marked by signs, synchronicities. It might be with number synchronicities. This is actually one of the easiest ways I get confirmations is through number sequences. Who gets that as well? Diamonds go through a lot of fire. Yeah, it's called refinement. To go through the fire. And gold goes through the same refinement process as well. And we have to go through that same refinement process where we have to be refined. Not that we're being punished, we're being prepared. There's a difference between punishment and preparation. Often when you're being prepared, it feels, I know this, like you're being punished. This is hard. This is unfair. This doesn't feel good. But you're not being punished, you're being purified. Say that with me, I'm being purified. You're being purified and prepared so that you are prepared for what is ahead. See, if we didn't go through testing and trials, when the real event comes, we're not prepared. And preparation, and certainly when we're dealing with the divine's not going to push us out there unless we're prepared. Because love always guides. And now we're never forced to do anything. And this is where faith comes in. Because the divine force that I speak with is a loving force. It knows you better than you know yourself. It knows where you overcome, have overcome in the past. It knows where you fall short. And it's there to not only hold your hand, but guide you through every step of the way. And it will never leave you. It will never forsake you, even if you leave and forsake it. See, that's what love does. Love doesn't give up. Love doesn't get frustrated. And when I talk about divine love and aligning to it, we're mirroring in the physical, in our physical embodiment, divinity itself. We're embodying it. And we have great examples of this. True love does not mean, and this is important because we often mistake this, true love does not mean allowing harm or tolerating deception. It means standing in truth while still holding compassion. Isn't that challenging sometimes when we have somebody that gets on our nerves that maybe mistreats us? And nonetheless, we stand true while holding compassion. This was given to me last night. Hurting people hurt other people. And if somebody is hurting, they're going to react in a circumstance, and you may be in the way where they just project a whole lot of stuff on you. Who's had people project a whole lot of stuff on you? Now, they don't do it most of the time consciously. They do it unconscious because they don't see their own inner patterns. They don't see what they're doing. If they could see it, they would probably be out of it. Love is compassionate because love understands the bigger picture. And you don't have to see everything in someone else's life to hold space and compassion for those. But you have to allow yourself to walk in love. Say, walk in love. It's not stagnant. It requires movement to walk in it. Faith calls for surrender, but love calls for action. To embody divine love is to move beyond words into tangible expressions of care, kindness, and understanding. When was the last time that you were compassionate to somebody that wasn't very compassionate to you? When was the last time you were kind to somebody who wasn't very kind to you? Do you get into reactivity when somebody cuts you off in traffic? Do you get frustrated when you're in a situation, you might be doing your shopping, or you could be with a family member and they're criticizing, they're berating you, they're telling you the same old thing they tell you every time? What's your reaction to that person? Do you get defensive? You see, defense is the first act of war. The moment you defend, you're entering the war space. Now, let me emphasize what I just said. It doesn't mean we get walked all over. Often you have to remove, actually a wise thing to do is to remove yourself from that situation. Get out of harm's way. Get yourself out of the conversation. Thank the person for sharing, but then move on. But there's a difference between that and reactivity and defense. See, we're called to be not defending. See, the divine, I was reading this today, the divine will defend you. If you align with the divine, divine justice will follow. What's great about that is it means you don't have to do the work. It means you don't have to carry the burden. You can have it carried for you. See, we get involved. We feel like we got to do everything. Let me engage with some of you because I'm Hello, Dr. Rapal. Great to see you. And we engaged together in some chats. And of course, great to have Janice here in the live stream. Lizzie says, but the pressure to make me crack under pressure. I know it can be challenging. I'm not saying this is easy, but if we want to walk in true love and liberation, and if we want to walk in faith, we have to align to it. And it doesn't mean it's easy. I'm not taking away from the emotional charge that comes when someone's berating and criticizing you and telling you you're no good and you make all of the wrong decisions. I'm not saying it's easy. But here's the choice. Do you want to allow that negativity and that toxicity to build up in you until you eventually react? Or do you want it to be like water on a duck's back and let it wash over you and you emerge without attachment? So that's the invitation. Because life is going to happen to you nonetheless. Life is happening to you nonetheless. Your part is how you live it. Do you let it get to you? Or do you just move through life with a sense of freedom and grace? Acceptance is the key. A better word, even, it's a great word, acceptance, but I'll take it one step further that I like to use is surrender. To surrender to it. Now, surrender does not mean giving up, but it's more of a relinquishing of holding the burden. Often when people look at Jesus, the ultimate act of surrender, they say like he gave up. He was defeated, but he wasn't defeated. He surrendered in divine love and allowed something to happen. Now we know the story. The resurrection came right after the act of surrender. After your surrendering event comes your resurrection event. And that might take 3 days, literally. It might take 3 weeks. But your surrendering will equal your resurrection. That is the divine example of this process that I'm talking about. True love does not mean allowing others to harm or you tolerating deception. It means standing true and still holding that compassion. Living in love means recognizing that every soul is on a journey. Some are awake, some are lost, and some are resistant. But love does not force, it invites. Say that after with me. Love does not force, it invites. To walk in love and to love is to move through the world unshaken by rejection, opposition, and misunderstanding. You see, you shine because most people react. Someone's mean to you, you react. What most people do is they react all the time. They're in a pattern of reactivity. Who would you be if you didn't react? You surrendered. People would notice a difference. Perhaps they would be expecting a reactivity response. See, people like when you react to them because they enter into a energetic exchange. But if you just stay in silence, if you stay out of reactivity, people take notice. Dolores Cannon put it like this once. They said, they can't push your buttons anymore. Who knows what she means by that? Purified love does not give up. That's right. Acceptance is the key. When love and faith, let me read this again. When love and faith are fully embodied, it becomes an effortless life of flow. Situations that once caused fear no longer have power over you because trust has replaced uncertainty. Faith moves mountains, but love dissolves barriers. When there is true love, separation disappears and unity is restored. Aren't all of these the benefits that we want? See, if we live this way, we get all the benefits. If we lived the old way that we used to do it, that we were conditioned to do it, then we get all of the old effects. It's much better to align than allow the predictive to play out like a broken record. You're speaking like a Zen teacher. Well, remember, I don't know if you've joined me before, Lizzie, but I've done quite a few of these broadcasts, these live streams, and I'm committed. I won't get there every time because I know it's probably going to be almost impossible. I could have a technical issue where I could be traveling, but I'm committing to do these as much as I can, and I'm saying every day. I didn't feel like doing it a few days ago because I had taken Louis to the beach during the day and I was tired and I was recovering from just being out in the sun. Who knows what that's like? You often feel a little bit depleted energetically when you've been in the sun for the afternoon. But I showed up anyway because I was honoring my commitment. Often we don't feel like loving. We don't feel like walking in faith. We don't feel like being nice. We feel like retreating. We feel like giving up. That's the number one thing. Who's had those situations in their life? They feel like giving up, but in the face of resistance, surrender. Surrender. Hello, Soren. Great to see you. Surrender. Surrender the attachment. Surrender the resistance. You might not know how, but having a willingness to surrender is what is required. And then the divine is able to move through you, restore you, and then on the other side is your resurrection. Does that analogy make sense to you? I like to use analogies. Let me have some water. And let me invite, I forgot to do it, or I'm remembering to do it rather, some silence. When I communicate, I was told that the silence between the words and the pauses are just as important as the words themselves. Someone said Zen before. I believe in Zen Buddhism that silence is honored as sacred. And silence isn't the absence of something. It's the space in which holds things. Do we have any questions? I want this to be engaging. I much prefer it when this is a conversation between us and not just me talking at you. And it's good to take the silence because then I can allow time for you to engage. Is that all right with you? Do you like that we can engage and that can be two-way? You know, when I first started live streaming, it takes a bit of a knack because you originally start by recording a video and you get used to looking at a camera and not a person, and then that is a process. And then you go live and you deal with all of the, from my end anyway, all of the technical aspects, and I'm looking down at all of my equipment the microphones and the inputs and the settings and the CPU to make sure that your stream is at the right speed and all of the technicalities. And then you got to bring it all together. One of the big helps for me was to remember the silence, to allow enough for the divine to be communicating through you, enough stillness to be able to hear. Because what I'm doing when I communicate, and some of you have heard this before, I am literally like this flask here, a vessel for the divine. And we all have this ability to co-create with the divine. In fact, that is what many of us have been called to do, to be vessels. And the vessel itself is just the containment. In my vessel, I have fresh water. The water is what's valuable. The water is what brings nourishment, brings life, not the flask. The flask just holds it in place, ready for when it's meant to be distributed, meant to consume, in my case, when I take some sips from it. Janice is saying, and now we are coming to Maui. Who feels that call to Maui? The reason, and I spoke about this earlier, but I'll recap. Maui, in my experience, is one of the most energetic portals in the world. Many native Hawaiians believe it is the heart chakra of the Hawaiian Islands itself. I was given additional information to that, is that Hawaii, and specifically Maui, is the heart chakra of the earth herself. And when you're in the heart, it's a different vibration. To the body, it's a different vibration to the head and the thoughts and the thought stream, where we think intelligence comes from. But the divine intelligence, not artificial intelligence, as we're a lot being more and more accustomed to in this technological age, nothing wrong with it as long as we're using it in a way that is beneficial and we're also not deriving a sense of identity and getting too out of balance. But it can be a wonderful tool. But this intelligence comes not from the mind, it comes from the heart. And when you get into a place in the earth like Maui that is heart-centered, vibrationally aligned to the heart, that is where the healings take place. That is where the alignment takes place. And so when I was asking, well, I was guided more so to it than even before I asked. And Janice will be able to share this story with you. I was guided to Maui. I was doing another trip in North America where I thought analytically something would connect. But of course, that was not what the divine was doing. The divine was getting me through Hawaii to plant the seed of that's where you need to be. And then synchronistically, everything started to line up. I lined up with Janice. We created our first retreat and saw the most wonderful breakthroughs, miracles, healings. Even myself is a miracle, a breakthrough from that. See, I got just as much out of it for helping facilitate it than many of the people there. Because what I've stepped into would have never have happened, this connection to the divine, this conversation with the divine that is occurring through me would have never happened if I didn't align with the energy of Maui. And since then, I've made a commitment through faith, even though it's a lot of travel for me from here, from Melbourne, from Australia to Maui, that I've made a commitment that that is where I'm going to collaborate with Janice and with others to make this available to people. We're expecting miracles. I've been told by the divine that people are going to activate. They're going to remember who they are. That is the very title of that retreat. This retreat is Remember Who You Are. We've got Bree Wolf. We have Janice Silva. We have myself. We have Jesse Brazil. And Carle, who is a master in his field with working specifically with men, but he is also a native Hawaiian that has access to ancient knowledge and wisdom that has traveled down his lineage for hundreds, if not thousands of years. Wisdom. And we're collaborating. We're working together as a team to facilitate this process. How can you transform your life? How can you do it in 3 days? That is why we're doing this, to give people the opportunity. Now, maybe for you, you've been searching and asking and looking for the door to open and waiting, and this is an invitation. Question for you is, will you walk through the door? If you feel that inner resonance, here is your invitation. Now, Janice is here in the chat. If you've got any specific questions about Maui, I'm sure she'll be happy to answer some of those questions. And even if you're watching the replay and you've got questions about the Maui retreat, because this will be by the majority seen on the replay, why don't you leave a comment and let us know? We'll most likely have an intimate group under 30 people. The great thing about working intimately is it allows us to hold your hand along the way. There's 5 of us that are collaborating. And we'll probably have some additional people that will just hold space. But you will be held through this experience, comforted through this experience. And the great thing about it is it will happen in a luxurious environment. Isn't that a bonus? You're not just having this phenomenal spiritual experience, you're doing it in paradise. Isn't that good? Yes, and reach out. And Janice, you can even leave your contact details here in the live stream where people can reach out to you personally. You can even do that in the replay when that goes live. We just sold 2 tickets. Amazing. That's great. Janice, is that from people that we know, or is that from the live stream today? You know what the divine said? Your sign, Paul, will be on Monday, American time, which it is by tomorrow, you have sold 2 tickets. There's my sign. And I'm getting the chills go through my body just as I'm sharing that. Because when you're in divine alignment, the divine is able to flow through you. See, when we stand in faith and when we believe and when we can't see and we do it anyway and we don't give up and we walk in love, that is when we become the vessel for the divine. That is when miracles occur. That is where synchronicities happen because you're in alignment. Beautiful. And Janice is messaging me as we go along here, and I'm just so excited that we've got people that have signed up for this. And I'm really in expectation that we're going to have to cap it at 30. We can't have any more than 30. And 30 minus 2 is 28. So we have 28 spots left. Now you can commit, and Janice will help you if you want to just you might not even have the means to make it happen yet, but that's your step of faith, isn't it? Because you can say to Janice, I commit to this. I'm committing to this process. I don't have the funds now, but I'm going to commit to doing it. And that's where the miracle happens. See, we often wait for everything to get into alignment before we take action. But faith doesn't work like that. Faith is stepping out onto the water when you think you are going to drown and taking the step anyway. Isn't that what Jesus did when he walked on water? Everybody looked at him and thought he was crazy. Like, what are you doing stepping out of the boat? You're going to go under. But he didn't go under because he was supported. The divine flowed through him and allowed him to walk where no one had walked before. See, that's what faith does. It requires us to take the first step. And that is when the alignment happens. That is when the divine infuses you and guides the way. You might not know how, but it doesn't matter. It takes a willingness. You know, in every step program that I've heard of, from Alcoholics Anonymous to Drugs Anonymous to all of these other great organizations, the premise of all of those is if you want to be free of the addiction, you have to allow that process. There's a thing in AA that says, let go and let God. They use that in AA. They even have what they call a serenity prayer where you literally surrender and put whatever you believe in, because it's universal for all of people that have either a faith or don't have a faith, but it's basically to give over, to surrender, and to allow something greater than yourself to guide you, to take over. See, that's what true faith is all about. And a lot of people say, well, I don't have the money. I don't have the time. Well, you've sealed your fate right there. And I'm not just talking about the retreat. I'm talking about every single area in your life. You've relinquished any chance of a miracle occurring because you've sealed your fate. And often we do that, don't we, in life? And then we go, oh, but it's not fair. I would have loved to have gone to that Maui retreat. But we made the decision. And then we might blame the divine or blame life or blame circumstances and say how unfair it is. But we made the decision. See, when someone's going through a recovery program, they don't know how they're going to give up the addiction. They don't know, but it takes a willingness. All that is being required is a willingness, a saying yes. And when you say yes, you step out of the boat and onto the water. And that is the very moment that this divine that is available to us all aligns with you. And that is the point of power. That is where the miracle occurs. Say, I'm a vessel for miracles. See, I'm not special. One thing I want to tell you is this, and I mentioned this in most other broadcasts. The divine is flowing through me freely, through my words and the teachings that are coming, not because I'm special, but because I'm available. I answered the call. I picked up the phone. The divine was ringing me, to use this analogy, and this is an analogy, by the way. Someone thought I was talking literally when I gave this example the other day. No, the divine did not physically call my iPhone. Analogy. But when I picked up and said yes and answered the call, that is when the information started to come. If I stopped sharing this message, guess what would happen? I wouldn't be in alignment anymore. And it would stop. Because that's what I've been called to do. What is it that's in your life that you've been called to do? You know, I woke up with a really, really sore right leg today. And I was trying to think about it. I thought, why have I got such a sore leg? And it was on the right side. I said that. And I said, what's going on? I said, this is manifested physically because you're afraid to walk forward, Paul. You're afraid. So this is affecting you right now. If something is in the present, it generally affects the right side of the body. From the past, it affects the left side. The reason that it's manifesting physically is that I've been fearing walking forward. See, when you're being called to faith, often fear is what arises as the last hindrance. It doesn't mean that we don't experience fear. We don't experience pain. We don't experience resistance, but we move forward regardless of the resistance. You see, I've been hobbling around today because it's been sore to walk on, but I kept walking. I'm sure when I get out of my chair, there'll be soreness. But you know what? I just know why it's manifesting, because of the hesitation. Because I know as well is that there's going to be resistance because it's about to break through, often just before your breakthrough. I did a whole series on this. You will experience breakdown. Just before you're meant to break through, you will have breakdown. Do not mistake that for failure. Get excited because it means you're about to completely break through to something you've never experienced before. Rather than seeing and being a victim of my sore leg, I can see it as confirmation that something is about to occur that's going to be phenomenal. We got those ticket sales because I was in alignment. Janice was in alignment. We weren't in fear, although we had moments of fear, but we were standing in a place of faith. And when you get out of the way, and you allow this divine presence, this force, this divinity, which we all come from, to come through you, that is where miracles occur. Now, if this is resonating with anybody, who is going to answer the call to come to Maui? I'll put it up again. The 23rd to the 26th in Maui. Now, Janice is our wonderful host, and Janice is going to help you with all of your travel needs. She knows all the best places to stay. She's based there in Maui. She'll be your personal travel guide. She's also going to be speaking at our retreat. She's going to be talking about health, and she's got some incredible products that have changed my life that she's put me onto. Why do you think my skin looks so vibrant at the moment? Because I'm honoring my physical health. It's all inclusive. Give me those reminders, Janice. That's great that you're doing that. It includes all of your food. It includes all of your accommodation. It includes all of the teachings, all of the workshops, everything that I've been sharing with you, put together in such a way that you walk in, you have the most profound, transformative experience of your life, and then you go out into the world changed. You go out into the world transformed because something happened beyond the physical. You stepped out in and on the water, and the miracle occurred. That is what's going to happen for those that are brave enough to step out of the familiar, that are brave enough to step out of the predictable, and do it anyway. Sure, you'll have moments of doubt. I do. Janice does. We all do. The question is, do we succumb to it? Or do we walk in faith even when we can't see the outcome? It's a much better way to live. Community, connection, growth, farm to table experience. These are all included. We got products, we've got bags that were worth over $500 that every person that stays at Lemuria, our retreat center, gets. We got packed full of products worth $500. Actually, probably more than that. And I'm doing, if you register, I'm doing this for the next 24 hours. I'll give you a one-on-one hour session with me where I'll be giving you, it's not my information, it's the divine information, specifically for you if you register in the next 24 hours. Everybody gets that. I was told by the divine to do that. It's to encourage you to step out. It's knocking, the door is opening, but you have to choose to walk through it. Only you can make that choice. Now he is calling you, Janice says, community, connection, growth. Many of us have been longing for community. I just want to feel part of something. I feel isolated and alone. I want somebody else that understands me. One of the greatest parts of visiting Maui the first time was meeting my family, meeting Janice, meeting Bob, her husband, meeting the other people like Kale and Jessica and Bree, and finding my family. That was the real longing of my heart, is to find people that understood me, that saw me, that accepted me. And that gave me the confidence to step more into what I'm stepping into now, which is a greater, more expanded version of myself. Wouldn't you like that as well? Wouldn't you love that opportunity to really remember who you are? Not all that stuff people have been saying about you for years. She'll never go anywhere. He'll never do anything. See, often it's the people close to us that unconsciously hold us back because they need to feel safe. In order for them to feel safe, we have to be the same. But we're not called to be the same. We're called to awaken. My mission is to help you remember who you are, help you awaken. Now that's your choice whether you do it. I said yesterday, not everybody's going to resonate with this message, and that is okay. They're not meant to. But those that do feel the calling and step out and respond, they are the ones that are going to reap the benefit. Jenna says, I'm so over isolation. Well, those days are behind you. And let me tell you, I'm sure you won't mind me sharing this, Janice, about you. Janice had something happen to her years ago where she hurt her leg. She broke her leg, in fact. Tell me if I'm wrong. I know you'll be fine with me sharing this. She broke her leg. She was doing something that had reached its stage in her life, and she was being called on to the next stage. Now, this thing was so good that was happening to her. She didn't really want to walk away from it. In fact, she probably would have never walked away from it because it was so good. Sometimes this is what happens. Something happens that we don't like. It's something, could be painful. It could be a divorce. It could be breaking a leg. It could be, this happened to me years ago, a car accident, because I wasn't doing what I was meant to be doing. It doesn't mean it's bad. It just means it's not aligned to your soul and your spirit and your calling. Now, often we say, well, why would that happen? That's not a very nice thing. A car accident, a breaking of the leg, a divorce. Sometimes if we didn't get woken up, we would stay asleep. So there are these pivotal moments or these nexus points in our life that are designed to wake us up. First, we get the intuitive messages. We get the small, still voice. But here's the thing, often we don't hear it because it's too noisy inside. There's too many thoughts. They're getting drowned out by the thoughts of the analytical mind or the noise and the busyness of life. And so then it comes again and again and again. And eventually your soul says, right, we got to get her attention. We got to get his attention. What would be something so dramatic to get their attention? Now remember, you're not being punished. You're being prepared. And often with preparation comes training. I train at the gym all of the time. Sometimes it hurts when I train because the muscles get sore. But the training prepares, the training brings growth, the training brings transformation. So let's live in a place of surrender. Now, I'll continue that story. Janice was eventually taken to the place where she is now, which is Maui. And Maui is where this next chapter of her life is unfolding. She's stepping into not a plan B, but a greater version of anything she has ever walked in up until this point in time, because she is aligning with divinity itself. Janice is a divine spark, remembering who she is, remembering that there's something that she needs to complete in this life, and that is to lead and guide the way for others, to help facilitate community, to help facilitate connection and bring it all together. She is a guide. So let me go back. Have we had anybody out of the 10 people? Now, we should statistically have at least one of you who is saying yes. If 8 of you say no, but one of you says yes, wow. That is amazing. That is incredible. See, not everybody is ready. And you don't need to be ready with all of the hows and what ifs, but you just need a willingness. A willingness to allow something greater than yourself to open and manifest through you. See, when I started this, I felt completely unprepared. I don't have what it takes. I don't have the experience. I don't have the money to travel all the way to the other side of the world. I don't have it. But I wasn't being asked to have it. I was being asked if I would align. And that is when this divine started to work through me, because I answered the call. I said yes, even in the absence of knowing how it all would come together. And see, this is what happens. When we align, people start to align on your path. When I said yes to Maui, guess who came? Janice showed up, ready to align with something beyond what she could see. And we call this divine connection. Divine connections, the divine connecting people beyond what they can see and perceive. The unfolding is good all around us. It so is. Soren, are you saying yes? Is that a yes from you? I'd love to meet you in person. You might not know how you're going to make it all happen. But if you step out with a willingness, that is where the miracle occurs. That is when the divine will respond to you. The divine will align with you. And then it happens. All right, we've got about 5 minutes left before our hour is up. I'm going to play that video again. I want to encourage you and have you watch the beauty again of Maui. And I just have to work out how I'm going to do that because I don't have I'll bring up the poster. There we go. On the next live stream, I got to have all of the buttons and functionality in here and everything to make this work. But there it is. There is our poster. Remember who you are. A transformational 3-day experience, Maui, Hawaii, May 23rd to 26th, 2025. And there is your invitation. Will you answer the call? You don't need all of the hows and whys and all of the manifestation of everything, but it just takes a willingness. It just takes a simple yes. And then you're allowing something greater than yourself to then make it happen. It's called divine alignment. Even if you're watching the replay, Janice is going to introduce herself in the comments of the video that will be here on YouTube, and you'll be able to get her contact details. And if you've got any more questions, I'll also share the link in the replay of this. Actually, let me share it right now in the chat while I have it in front of me. I'm going to give you the link so that you can go directly to the website and you can register for the early bird special. And if you do that in the next 24 hours, even if you're watching this video, you can have a one-on-one session with me. I tell you what, recently I've taken off online all of my booking appointments and sessions. The only way people can have a session with me these days is people that are committing to be a part of this. That's what I've been called to do. And that is why if you've reached out to me to try to book a session, I've got a wait list. People just aren't getting sessions because this is the only way now I'm working with people. This is what I've been guided to do. Not my decision. Don't shoot the messenger. But if you want that private session, you can have it through this means. It's the only way that door is open until I'm being told differently. I'm just responding, I am surrendering, and I'm allowing divinity to make the choices. I'm just aligning to it. I'll be back tomorrow, different time, same channel. Depends on what time I'm being called to do it, but I will be here for sure tomorrow. And even if you're watching the replay, maybe you want to rewatch this to get some of those nuggets that the divine shared at the beginning. I'll leave you now, and I hope to see you next time, and I hope to meet you in Maui.